and quite challenging, but quite worth doing.
Yeah, it is quite worth doing. It's not as horrible as people make it seem. It's enjoyable but difficult.
Or do you presume it's something like the Daddy's Army or something?
Bad Lads Army. No, I don't think it's anything quite like Bad Lads Army, no.
Okay, let's go through your second week then. What is it that you learned under military life, introduction to military life?
In week 2, we started foot drill, which was marching, and it may seem quite an easy thing for some people to do, but when it's a group of you trying to do it all together, you get left, right, left, and everybody's going in different directions.
Yeah, tell me about the boots, because I watched the officers' boots were so massive. I thought, how do they raise those boots, and how do they seem to be awkward, but are they really comfortable?
The boots that the officers wear, some of them, yeah, they're quite shiny. Some of them are different to the ones that we got. The ones that we got at first very uncomfortable because you're probably not used to wearing boots for more than 12 hours in one day. But you just got used to it, basically marching everywhere. I mean, sometimes it did hurt your feet, but at the end of it all, it was okay.
You got it right.
Yeah.
And I saw your boots yourself. They were very, very clean. How do you do that? Do you do that?
That's long nights of polishing boots and shining and bullying, but basically it's just putting the polish on.
I presume that it kind of tries to groom you up to a
Yeah.
certain sequence and drill of how to do things in the military.
Yes, it is.
It's not like at home when they tell you it's time to go to bed, you start reading a magazine. Here you've got to follow a sequence so that they
it's
prepare you.
uniformity. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Go on. What about any other thing that you want to talk about here in week 2?
Physical training, PT, that was enjoyable. The instructors were very helpful. They encouraged you to keep going, and that meant a lot. They didn't shout at you or anything like that, which was very good. So they gave a lot of encouragement. And that's about it.
Oh, thank you. Let's go to week 3 now. By then, I think you had known your way around. You couldn't get lost and get into in another block at least and get in trouble. So you had known your way around. How was it like?
In week 3, we started GDT, which is ground defense training, which isn't on this part of the camp. It's lower down at the bottom, and that's where we learned about NBC, nuclear biological. Week 3 is where we started NBC, which is nuclear biological chemicals, teaching us about the use of the respirator and how to protect ourselves if there are any chemicals in the air. There we learned how to clean the respirator, take care of it, how it should be kept at all times.
I tell you what, I've just seen the respirator. Actually, it was so ugly and I got scared. You could not look at it twice. But not until the officer showed me and said, look, it's quite friendly. I did try it myself and it looked very, very comfortable. How did you find trying on the respirator yourself?
At first it is uncomfortable. You've got to make sure that you've got a perfect seal around it so that there's no oxygen coming in. And as long as there isn't any oxygen coming in and you keep it clean, it will protect you against what it's supposed to do. So.
And I presume it's posh as well because I saw there's a pipe that all you need is just tap in another thing and then you start drinking from. That was really posh. I said I wish I had one for myself. Okay, that's good. Can we go through week 4 then?
Week 4. What did we do?
When I look at this storyboard on week 4, I'm quite impressed with this picture here. It's like people are trying to squeeze pounded yam and okra soup. What's that about?
That's first aid, where you learn CPR and how to resuscitate casualties, how to check for fractures, if they're still breathing, if they've got a pulse. They just basically teach you what to do if you do go into a room and you find a casualty, how to administer first aid to them.
And what is it that you thought you learned you learned in this section under week 4?
Week 4 was more or less about first aid on the whole. And I think if I do go into a room and I find somebody on the floor unconscious, I will be able to at least look at that person and have an idea, a basic idea of what to do to get them breathing again.
Had you studied first aid before?
No, I haven't. It was
After doing first aid here and studying first aid here, what is it that you thought? What came to your mind after doing this course here?
that I can actually save somebody's life.
Oh, that's good. Let's go to week number 5 now. We have got the recognition of treatment of fractures, transportation of casualties, station security, alert system training, and so on. What is it that was most interested you here?
The most interesting thing was fieldcraft. It was difficult because it teaches you how to live out in the field without what you're used to, basic stuff that you'll have if you're in a house or in a caravan. So we had where we learned about leopard crawling and administering first aid in the field and all that different stuff.
I tell you what, to me, when I look at this storyboard, it reminds me of things I see on film, on screen, like Rambo, and going camping. You see, so to me, this looks quite interesting. What was the challenges that you thought you faced, or things that you think you must have learned on this program?
It was challenging, but I have learned to cope in the field without basic necessities and to incorporate what I've got into what I need and put it together and use that.
Does that include breaking a man's neck with your fingers?
No, I can't do that.
Okay, thanks. I'll keep my fingers crossed. Let's go to week number 6, please.
Week number 6 was the last week of GDT.
What's GDT?
Ground defense training. That's where we started at week 3. And we go out on CPT, which is Consolidation of Practical Training for Deployment. We go out for like 3 days in the forest, and we've got to put everything that we've learned in this 4 weeks into those 3 nights. And we've got different problems and obstacles that we've got to deal with, like first aid and vehicle checkpoints and searches, stripping down the rifle and reassembling it. But that's where we lived in the tent, and fieldcraft came into it because we had to cook on cookers and clean our rifles, keep ourselves tidy. So it was a bit difficult waking up in the morning, going on patrols 2 o'clock in the morning in the forest when it's dark. But it was done, and it was very enjoyable because one of the most important things I think was CPT that I enjoyed the most was when we had a contact front, which was basically when we were patrolling and our enemies confronted us and we had to fire at them and then rally, which is like run away and then ambush them.
Just
so
like in the ball games.
yeah. So that was the most outstanding thing I think out of the 9 weeks training. I really enjoyed that.
Right now we're in week 6. Could you take us through how you felt psychologically and spiritually and morally? How did you feel by then? Did you think you were doing the right thing?
By week 6, I was definitely sure I was doing the right thing. I had no doubts in my mind thinking, oh, this isn't where I want to be, or I shouldn't be here. Because I thought, well, if I can make it to week 6, I deserve to be here. I've been working hard, and I've been getting encouragement from my friends and my family.
I presume by now you had stopped crying late at night on your own.
Actually, since I've been here, I haven't cried.
Or you have seen some chaps crying.
I have seen people crying, but then you just console them and tell them it's going to be okay. And
Maybe it's tears of happiness sometimes.
yeah, tears of happiness, yeah. After week 6, it was tears of happiness.
Yeah, because you can't cry foul on week 6, but then things will be going very, very good. Okay, let's go to week 7. What is it that you thought was very, very good for your training as a person, as a young lady? And what is it that you wanted to share with us that is quite interesting in week 7? By then, I think things had been going all right by then.
Yeah, week 7, we came back up to the top, with our flight staff. And we started arms drill, which I don't like very much because I think it's difficult. Takes a lot of concentration, and your arms they get tired really quickly. Well, that's if you're not very strong, like I am. But I've done it, and tomorrow I'm going to do it for my passing out parade. So I think I've accomplished it, actually.
That's a little bit confusing for our viewers because they don't what they know is arms, but they don't know what's arms drill. Could you demonstrate a little bit what arms drill looks like? Yeah, just with
Well, usually you've got a rifle, and you stand with your rifle in your shoulder, which is called shoulder arms. And then you'll probably get change arms when you've got to put your rifle out front, and then put this hand over it, then bring it out to the side.
I remember that because what I did want to differentiate to our viewers, when you said arms drill, they could think that it's something to do with firearms, which is the most important part of the of the whole mission. Now, if it's very difficult and boring, that could be a problem. But as long as it's different from what I thought, then you're okay. Okay, now let's go to week 8 now.
Week 8, this is where we had our fitness test, and it's comprises of RAF sit-ups, RAF push-ups, and a shuttle run. It wasn't too difficult because during the 8 weeks that we've been here, we've been having fitness. So even if you were like not very good when you came, during that period of time, you did improve a bit. So the fitness test was okay, and I did pass it. So I was happy about that.
I presume by now you could even go for a bench dive or something like that.
No, not me. I'm too scared.
Okay, what happened week 9 then?
9. That's what we're on now. Last week in training, and flight parade, which is tomorrow. We're practicing. Well, we've just finished our last practice for the parade, and I think we're quite good. But tomorrow we need to be excellent. But when we put on those uniforms tomorrow, everything will just go as planned, and we'll be really good.
Are you going on a flight as well as a bonus?
Oh no! I wish I was, but I'm not.
But you're looking forward to it.
I am looking forward to it.
Toya, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
As you have heard from this young lady, I know many of you now here, as you're watching this program, you must have changed your mind now. You thought you can't make it. If this young lady made it, you can also make it. Ring this number on the screen. If you want to make inquiries about programs running with the Royal Air Force, ring number on the screen, or go to visit that website as well. Thank you. I've been at this station today for the whole day. I've been to the canteen, to all sectors of this station, and one word I've heard is drill, drill, drill. What is drill? Our next guest is an instructor, and he's going to introduce himself. Could you tell us your name?
Yes, my name is Corporal Barrable from RTS at RAF Halton.
And I believe that you are an instructor. Could you tell us what your role in training, in the training process? What is your role?
Being a recruit training instructor, I deal with the initial transition from civilians to military, instructing in general service knowledge, kit preparation and drill. Coaching, motivating these young people to be disciplined individuals who want to strive for excellence.
I've heard this word drill everywhere I've been on this station today. Can you explain to us what the drill is all about?
I think the best way to describe drill would be to tell you the introduction to the RAF drill manual, the AP 818, which states that drill is a powerful aid to discipline. It delivers a sense of corporate pride, alertness, precision, and readiness to obey orders instantly. Good drill in aircraft is directly fostered by the habit of drilling smartly on parade. Personnel are better prepared for combat and any work they have to do on the ground or in the air if fit and mentally alert. Thus, smartness on parade is not only a sign of good discipline, but a basic factor in raising the standards of performance of all service duties.
We have spoken about mental alertness and drilling and all other issues. But there's one issue, I think, which is what I could describe as a safety valve. Which safety valves have you got in place, especially when you receive people, or what I could call people want to join the service? These people, this is their first time to be away from their parents or away from home or away from their friends. When they come here, they start feeling homesick, or they have some moral issues that rise. How do you cater for that?
Okay, homesickness is a very common issue we have to deal with, and there is no cure for homesickness. It's something that the individuals have to work through. It's all to do with being out of their comfort zone, but the quicker they settle into training, make friends, concentrate on the task in hand, the quicker then that they deal with the homesickness. As far as welfare, there's quite a few organisations in the training establishment that copes with this. Their first port of call is always their flight staff. If the flight staff encounter anything that is maybe a bit specialist for them, or they can't deal with, or they know of another organisation that can deal with it better, we have a section called the WASPs, which is Welfare and Support Team, and we also have padres on hand, and they're both trained counsellors. There's also recruits are issued with a telephone numbers card which has a harassment and bullying helpline on it should they need to speak to somebody other than their flight staff.
Surely, that brings in another point, which is about bullying, and I believe you, having been in this trade for long, and something must have caught your eye. Let's talk one-to-one and tell our viewers, because this is what bothers a lot of people want to join the force. They always read in the papers issues about bullying. Have you ever seen any bullying around? And if you have seen one, how have you tackled it, or what has the force done to make sure that this kind of discrimination or bullying, they don't take place in this modern day society and department like this one?
In the 2.5 years that I've been at RTS, there have been a small number of instances where recruits have felt they've been bullied by other recruits. These allegations are taken very seriously. They will be investigated very, very thoroughly. And if they are found to be in breach of the RAF Equal Opportunities policy, then the culprits will be dealt with very severely indeed. Bullying no matter how small, bullying is not tolerated here at RTS.
Dear viewers, I personally, there's one thing that every time I walk on the high street and I see my old school teacher, I get nightmares. I know there's some people who are watching this program. Either you are a retired serviceman, I know you lost drill instructors, but I've been here today. I've spoken to most of the people. I've spoken to them. I'm seeing lovely chaps and recruits. There is a general sense of moving on and zero tolerance to these issues that you must have associated with the force before. Should you need more information about career in the Air Force, please ring that number on the screen and visit that website. Thank you. Our next guest is also another drill instructor, Corporal Jess Hall. Welcome to our program. I know you are one of the drill masters, and I've already spoken to a colleague. Could you take us through week one and how you, as an instructor, what do you go through in week one?
Okay, week one is the basic pickup phase. It goes from anything from picking them up from the train station or them arriving in this room here in the first instance. The first couple of days basically is an introduction to the Air Force. It's quite slow in the fact that we obviously have to get lots of administration done, haircuts and attestation, which obviously enters them into the Air Force in the first place. They get basic issue of bedding, they get medical jabs and all sorts of things like that. They also get the initial kit issue, which they'll be wearing for the rest of the 9 weeks that they're here and for the rest of their Air Force career. Okay, they also get equal opportunities briefs, which are completely thorough, and an introduction to kit preparation. This is basic upkeep of their uniform, how to iron, how to keep their bed spaces clean, things like that. So basic personal administration. And the RAF ethos and core values, which I'm sure you've heard about before, the respect, integrity, service before self and excellence. So it's just basically, it is just a very sort of slight insight to the Royal Air Force when they first get here.
And from your experience, I can see all these issues are quite personal. For example, cutting people's hair. That is too personal. What is the one that you could pinpoint and say that one is a difficult person, whereby you see a lot of resentment and kind of apprehension?
Resentment. I don't know if resemblance is the right word, because they want to be here in the first place. A lot of people struggle with the kit preparation, especially the youngsters that come in, because it's the first opportunity they've had to actually iron their own kit, wash their own kit, and they do struggle with it and find it quite particularly hard. Obviously, for the older members of the public that come in to join the Air Force, perhaps don't struggle as much. And they perhaps are a little bit resentful of doing it, but that's just because they haven't done it before.
I know people come from different backgrounds, and for example, there are people who come from homes which, let me say, somehow they cannot maintain health standards. So how is health issue here? Is it and being disorderly and dirty an option?
No, not an option at all. The first, in the initial phase, it's completely encouraged that their personal administration, their personal upkeep is paramount, obviously, to themselves, because they're living in an environment with, say, sometimes 30 other people. So they're not only, obviously, endangering themselves to infections and things like that, they're endangering other people.
Yeah, could you please take us through week 2 and what happens in your experience through your own eyes?
Okay, week 2. By this stage, the recruits are beginning to start getting a general idea of what's expected of them. It's obviously an introduction to military life. This is done through GSK lessons, general service knowledge lessons, and an introduction to the foot drill that you've obviously heard quite a lot about. General service knowledge, there are lots of lessons on that, as I said. Belief and value lessons. Obviously, we get lots of recruits coming from different backgrounds, so that just emphasises that lots of people are different, and how they can help accommodate other people.
Is this where you cater for people's beliefs, like Muslims, Hindus, Christians, and Jews?
We use very much as an open forum lesson, so people can air their views. If they have certain beliefs, and they can air them, so other people can be aware of how to treat them and how to react to them. They can sort of say, obviously what offends them, what doesn't offend them, and things like that. It's very much an open forum to air their views, things like that.
And I believe their views are embedded into what you're going to teach them for the rest of their stay on this station.
Yeah, we don't discourage any types of beliefs or views or anything like that. We do encourage that people respect other people's beliefs and values, definitely. But we don't try and discredit their beliefs or values in any way, shape or form.
So I take from that conversation that you have got mosques or chapels or churches and maybe synagogue and anything else that maybe to try and cater for all these different diversity of beliefs.
We've got padres and a chaplaincy centre, but we can go outside if there's a specialist belief. We can go out and get help. Well, not necessarily help, but aid to help them with those beliefs and values. Yes.
And if there is a halal man watching now, I presume that man his beliefs can be catered for at this station if he joins the Royal Air Force.
There are things in place that that can be catered for, yes, but obviously we deal every case individually, so yeah, we can.
Yeah, can you take us through take two? I presume that Christians are the majority in the force, in the Royal Air Force, but if there are people watching this program now who are from other religious backgrounds like Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs and Jewish, have you got any facility to cater for their religious beliefs as well?
Yeah, we have got a chaplaincy centre here, which all the padres in there are trained counsellors. However, if there's a different denomination, then the padres do have links to outside agencies where they can obviously cater for their beliefs.
Yeah, thank you. Is it possible you can take us through week 3 now, through your own eyes?
Yeah. Week 3, they leave us from up the top here and they go down to the ground defence training, which was a separate set of instructors. Basically, this is the force protection side of the Air Force, so it's all sort of MBC and things like that, how to deal with nuclear war. When they get down there, it's sometimes a very daunting phase for them the first day they get down there, because they're expected to take in a lot and do a lot of exams down there because it's obviously quite high intensity. They get down there, they get their initial kit, which is their bergens, all their webbing and things like that to carry all their rounds and things in. They get the introduction to the MBC categories, which is different states of dress.
What is MBC?
MBC is nuclear, biological and chemical. It's basically warfare, the different types of warfare. And they get learn how to dress in certain circumstances if this was to happen. So it's quite intense, and it could actually, at the end of the day, save their lives.
Okay. Our next stage is week 4. What happens in week 4?
Week 4, they're still down on the ground defence training. They get constant foot drill revision whilst they're down there, just emphasising obviously what we've taught them in week 2. They have nuclear survival drills of exactly what to do, because obviously they already know how to dress, but what to do in the event of a nuclear attack, and the biological drills also. Okay.
Then week 5.
It's still on ground defence training. It is basically first aid, recognition of fractures and how to treat casualties. It's also their introduction to firing live weapons, and as you can see here, fieldcraft and radio equipment, how to use radio. They also get a basic introduction of how to partake in station guard force, which they will do perhaps a year or so after they come out of training, if not sooner.
On the next stage?
Right, in the next stage of training, they're still getting their physical training, i.e. down at the PED, pool lessons. Okay, they do the guard and sentry procedures and the weapon handling test, which they have to pass to progress on to the next stage of training. They do stripping and assembling of the rifle, which is obviously daily upkeep of the rifle that they have in their hand. And they do a consolidation of practical training exercise, which is a 3-day exercise down at Bramley training area. And it just encompasses everything they've learnt in the 4 weeks that they've been down on the ground defence training. Again, they have to pass this to progress to the next stage.
Which is week 7. What happens there as well?
Week 7, they're back up the top with us. They're back into the normal RTS training, okay, and it's basically ironing and presentation of their blue uniform, which they're now being introduced to. They do a team building session on the low ropes, which basically we're just trying to get them to encompass everything they've learned over the past 7 weeks, and how to put that into practical use.
This looks like a summer camp, something like that. I presume it's quite interesting.
Yes, it is very interesting. We also do it the first sort of couple of days of the training, just to see if there's anyone with any leadership qualities. But this one is to see how they've bonded as a team, if there's any sort of natural born leaders that come out. And a lot of the time it's a lot of fun for them. They do enjoy it because they're now in a situation where they've bonded with these people for the past 7 weeks, and they're having a bit of fun with them as well. So.
And what qualities do you look for in a leader?
In a leader, well, rightly, they have to have determination to succeed in their end goal. Enthusiasm, I think it's a bit of a misconception that we're just here to tell them what to do and we expect them to do it. A little bit of initiative is always obviously quite welcome, especially in what we're doing now. And basically someone that can make people follow them, so they believe in what they believe in, and the end goal. So just someone that's going to push them.
Okay, thank you. What happens in week 8 then?
Okay. Week 8, basically, they're still on the general service knowledge lessons. They do their GSK final exam, which they have to pass to progress. They have a visit to the Hendon Museum, which is the Royal Air Force Museum, which is a day out for them as well. Quite enjoy it. They have air power lectures, which obviously is quite important for their future career. And they do their RAF fitness test, which is a mixture of press-ups, sit-ups and a shuttle run. Okay. And they have their graduation parade practice, which our troops run at the minute, and basically putting everything they've learnt through arms drill into practice on the parade square as an intake as opposed to a flight. And they're generally getting very proud by this point. Week 9. Week 9 is the actual graduation parade itself, where they're on parade in front of a reviewing officer. Their friends and family get to come along, sit in the stands and watch them. And there's lots of tears on this day after the parade, very proud parents. The flight commander gives everyone a farewell and tells them exactly how well they've done. And they get dispersed onto their trade training units.
Let's go back to week 8. I think by now people must have spent here more than a month. What system have you got in place to make sure that these people, even though they are not going to see their family members, but they can be able to get in touch with their family members, like writing letters and making phone calls? What system have you got in place?
The system we've got in place, it's only the first 3 weekends where they're unable to go home. After that, apart from a charity weekend that we do, they are free to go home at weekends. We do ensure that everyone's we ask everyone if they have a mobile phone. If they haven't, then they can use the payphone that is here. They can write letters and obviously send them home to their parents. We do have a system that if we get some people that parents live outside of this country, there is a system where we can get in touch with them for them and obviously use the Air Force to pay for that, so they're not spending all their money paying for this. Sorry?
So I presume that people can come in, join the Royal Air Force, carry their mobile phones with them, use their mobile phones, carry their workstations if they've got some, their video games, with their trainers, and even their tracksuit. Is that allowed, or they just stay in military uniform 24/7?
No, they're not in it 24/7. Obviously, during the working day where we are working with them, they're not allowed to carry their mobile phones and their games around with them. However, they are allowed to turn them on after cease of work during the day. So in the evening, the time is their own to get on with their kit, and they can phone home, write letters or anything like that.
Maybe lastly, can you tell us the secret of your success? What is it that motivated you to, as a young girl, you could have done something else, but what motivated you to join the Royal Air Force?
What motivated me, I think, was the war stories from my granddad mostly. I wanted to get out and do something different, get away from my hometown in Norfolk and see the rest of the world. And I think in a certain respect as well, as a female, I wanted to prove something to myself and to other people, and I think it's the best decision I've ever made.
Have you travelled yourself outside England?
I've travelled many places, yes.
And how did you feel when you went to foreign places?
I enjoyed it, especially the weather. Yeah, no, it's very, very much fun to see different cultures and how different people live, really, and just the pressures that you're under as well. It's good adrenaline.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you heard from the corporal who is an instructor at this station? She has put us in a position whereby we are able to understand now that the Royal Air Force you can have it as a career. You can have a pension. You can also travel the world first class. Keep watching.